There are a lot of people that are going to watch this and be like, holy cow, I make substantially less than Peter makes. And I'm doing a lot more with it. I'm able to build a lot more with it. You have a ton of opportunity, but you got to get serious about it. Do I still want to be living paycheck to paycheck? Like when I ask you, hey, where's this $5,500 going? You're like, oh, well, I see it and then I don't see it. That is not commanding your army of dollar bills. What do you do for a living? Vocationally, what's your profession?
I've got 3 jobs, kind of on and off, especially this late in the season. I've got 2 of my own companies technically, one of which is a record label for my music, which I am working on pursuing more full-time than the others.
Okay.
I have my own construction company and landscaping, and then I also work full-time as a machine operator.
Okay. When you say construction, what kind of construction? And you said landscapes, is like all outdoor stuff?
Yeah,
Are you building houses?
I do a lot of landscaping, mowing to get started. And that kind of gets my foot in the door with the clients and builds the relationship to mention, hey, I was, mowing your grass. Notice you've got some drainage issues. I'll get an excavator in there. I'll do some drainage. Like, hey, you've got some siding, coming off. Let me get up there for you. And just kind of build off of that.
I love it.
I'll tell you, in these neck of the woods, people love that stuff because I have more trouble than I have time. So if somebody will take that off my plate, I'm willing to pay for that. And I bet there's a lot of homeowners that are like,
literally, someone knocks on my door like, hey, I saw your windows look dirty. I'm like, done. Take care of them. Knock them out.
I was out at dinner last night for a birthday dinner for one of my neighbors and good friends, and he was talking about that him and his wife, they want to do these landscape projects in the yard, and the bid came back at like $4,500, and his wife was like, "We should just do this." And he goes, "Okay, it's going to cost us $1,500 to do this, but then it's going to take us 4 weekends to do this. It might cost us our marriage. Maybe it's cheaper to pay the $4,500 to the landscaper for the project." And so that's what I think that there's lots of blue open water for a business like that.
And a lot of times it's the experience that, because I know I'm young. A lot of people look at me.
How old are you?
I'll be 23 in a week and a half.
Oh, well, first off, happy early birthday.
Thank you much.
Most 23-and-a-half-year-olds don't have 3 different jobs. That's a unique thing, right?
So my music, I've been performing since I was 14. I had my first paid gig, but I didn't really start taking it seriously until about a year or 2 ago. This year, my music really took off.
What's your weapon of choice? What's your instrument?
Guitar. I started on piano though.
Okay.
So
and what kind of music do you do?
Country.
Country music. Look, welcome to Nashville,
Thank
right?
you much.
I love it. What's the difference in not taking music seriously and taking music seriously from a business standpoint?
So, just being more professional, stage presence. I've gotten so many more gigs. I used to do maybe 2, 3 a month. August of this year, I had 12 or 13 gigs.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing 2, 3 a weekend, and then one weekend I had 4.
Wow. So, it's wild. So you got these 3 jobs. You're taking music seriously now. When you shared your information with us, you were kind enough to send us a net worth statement, kind of give us sort of the layout. This says that you're making like $90,000 a year right now. Is that right?
That is an estimate.
Okay.
It is definitely give or take.
Okay.
But that's kind of what me and Megan had rounded off to.
Okay. So walk me through. You have these 3 different jobs. Can you break them down? Like what comes in from construction, what comes in from music, and then what comes in? You said the other one was you were a machinist?
Machine operator.
Machine operator.
So for my full-time job, running machinery, excavators, loaders, all that type of stuff, that pulls in. So I just started that job this year, probably about 6 months ago.
Okay.
My old job in the first 6 months that I started at this year, I made when I finished was about $35,000.
Okay.
Then so far this year, I'm up to 35, 40-ish.
Okay. So if we say you make $35,000 in 6 months, realistically, could you make
less than 6 months?
Okay. Realistically, probably $60,000 a year through machine operating. Does that sound accurate?
A little more, because I am not a full-time operator. Okay. So they pay me per what I'm doing.
Okay. Are you going to be a full-time operator though?
Yes.
Because you've got a lot going on.
I am fresh in this company, so I'm still making a name for myself. I'm still building up my own reputation. It's a very large company. I'm not used to nothing like it. I'm used to running a very small crew, but here we've got 400 employees.
Okay.
So I'm still working up a name for myself.
So maybe like 65, 70,000 doing that full time?
Probably about that, maybe a little more, because right now I get paid for when I'm operating, but I'm also laboring and driving the triaxles as well.
Got it.
So the pay rate varies.
Let's stick with 70. We'll be conservative, right? I don't want to be overly rosy here. I want to get sort of a lay of the land. So 70,000 from that. What about from music? How much are your gigs?
So this year was by far my best year.
Okay.
This year I cleared 13,500.
Awesome. That's great. Is that replicable next year? If you're working full-time as a machine operator, you won't be able to do as many gigs. You will be able to.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
So I do after work, occasional Wednesdays, Thursdays.
Okay.
But most of my gigs are Fridays and Saturdays.
Love it.
So, because you said you're doing 12 to 13 gigs a month, right?
That was my high. In the month
of August.
Okay. That was August. That was my high month.
So what do you get paid for a gig? Because if you're making 13 grand a year, and doing 12, is that like they throw a few $100 at you? What is it?
So it depends on the venue, depends on how far it is. I typically charge $100 an hour for my gigs.
Okay.
I usually do 3 hours. But if it's a real small place, like a little dive bar, I will kind of do $200 for the 3 hours.
And how long does it take you to drive to these places?
Well, that's kind of what goes into the price. Usually most of my gigs are within an hour.
Okay.
Some of them are further, which I charge, maybe $350.
So you got 70,000 coming from machine operating. You got about 13,000 coming in from music. And then what about from the construction landscape? How much money will you make doing that?
So for my own company, this year was my first year. February will mark a year, February 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I've paid myself so far from that was about $2,500.
Okay.
Just what I've put into the business personally. Mm-hmm. So I've just been paying myself back. I've made no profit technically on the business yet. But
I need to, from an accounting standpoint, does that mean you have a business account that's sitting out there with like 30, 40 grand in it?
No, I wish.
Okay, so help me understand, because you said you haven't paid yourself, but you've done this work. What's come in and what's come out?
I think in total I've made 30 grand year to date.
It's like in gross revenue, 30 grand. That's
about 30 to 40 grand, somewhere between there.
But all of that went out in expenses is what you're saying.
Like equipment and people.
A good bit, yeah.
Okay.
So I've had, just last month actually, I had a few major things break that I had to come out of pocket for.
So it's not uncommon. Most businesses, right, when you begin to operate, you don't immediately start profitable. So that's a pretty standard thing as you think about looking into 2026. Because what I'm recognizing, a lot of this stuff is brand new, right? So brand new to taking music seriously. This machine operating job with this new company is a brand new thing. And even the construction thing is brand new. So you're kind of starting at ground level one, right? Yeah. Which is, it's awesome. But you've got some unique stuff you got to navigate, right? So when we think about 2026, realistically from construction, what would be a conservative, like not the dream plan, not even maybe the down-to-earth plan, but what's kind of like worst case, I think I can probably make this much in 2026 doing the construction and landscaping.
Worst case, probably, I feel like 75 is a solid number.
Okay.
So 75,000 for everything. That's being a full-time employee, that's doing the gigs and doing, that seems reasonable to me. But that's got you, that's humping it, that's busting it. You got to be out there
7
really.
days a week.
Because it is, because you're working hard, which, by the way, at 22, I think you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is the time of your life to kind of do. Normally, if you came to me and you were 38 years old and you had your guitar and you're doing all these 3 gigs, and I would be like, what are you doing? You've got to figure out what you want to be in life.
Right.
You're 22.
It's kind of the time to do it.
You have the energy. You have the time. You should do all of this to kind of be exploratory to see what really hits and takes traction. Now, what I'm concerned about is while you're going on these adventures, because you're limitless on, it sounds like, talents and going down these things. but I'm not seeing it turn into fruit yet on your net worth statement.
And let's look at the net worth statement, because it is interesting. Right now, your total net worth that you were kind enough to provide to us, just a touch over $13,000. We have $1,000 in an emergency fund. We're going to talk about that. We got about $2,500 in investments. And then we have a lot of transportation things, right?
Yes.
We've got a car, we've got a truck, we've got a motorcycle, and we've got a quad. We have lots of means of transportation.
I'm trying to see where in the financial order operations the toys were, because they don't. I don't see them in 1, 2, or 3. And there's definitely a quad, a motorcycle, a truck, a car.
But again, I want to have some grace.
By the way, if I was 22 and I made $75,000, I would probably have a quad, a motorcycle, and a boat. I'd probably have a jet ski. That's what I'd have had.
I'd love to know.
We were looking at boats a while back.
Yeah. Oh my God. So as you sit here, right? Again, you're at the very beginning of this journey, just starting out. You have your net worth statement. I do see some debt on here.
Yes.
You've got a personal loan.
What is that?
What's that guy?
Okay, so I actually started with the truck note. I need a truck for my business. I need a truck to do truck stuff.
Yep.
So I had to get that loan, which I really did not want to do at that time. The market for vehicles was not great at all. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have many other options at that point. I wasn't making much money, and I needed a vehicle. Mm-hmm. So I bit the bullet. I got the truck, and then next year I started making decent money.
So when did that truck loan happen? What year?
23, I believe. This was before, I found you guys. This was before I, really thought about money the way I do now.
Right. Sure.
And my whole family started getting quads. And I've ridden quads and dirt bikes since I was little. But everyone else was riding every weekend. They put me in the group chat.
Right.
I didn't even have a quad.
Right.
I'm like, you're just teasing me.
Right.
So I got one. I shouldn't have, but I did. So I got a loan for that, which was $8,000.
Is that what the personal loan is?
No.
We haven't got the personal loan yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
So I got the truck loan. Then I got the quad, which was about $9,000.
Okay.
Then my transmission on my truck went about 6-7 months after I bought it. So I got a bigger loan, paid for the transmission, and paid off the quad loan.
So that personal loan was like a consolidation loan to cover the quad, to cover the work on the truck, to cover the original truck loan.
Yes.
Got it.
So, I have to ask Peter, because we're all bouncing around it.
Yeah.
Where's your money gone? Because you for 22, it sounds like you've been in the money game since you were in your 20. And I don't look, you could have a quad because you make enough money, but it's just that you shouldn't have any debt though. I mean, I don't understand where your money's gone.
So I actually had about $8,000 in my emergency fund.
Okay.
I put probably 85% of my emergency fund back into my loans. Okay. So my truck is almost paid off. Then everything kind of broke down a month or two ago, and I've been putting money into that and just other bills, and I got a hard time saying no to my girlfriend. We got a horse. He's expensive.
You have a horse?
We've got a horse.
Why is that not on here?
I didn't see a horse on the where's that go on the balance? What do you put that on the balance sheet?
No, look, I mean, I was just talking because I have a friend in Georgia. God bless him. He loves his daughters. And I think he's on his third horse now. But you can. His first one, he got taken to the bank. Second one made great money on. I didn't even know you could make money on horses, but he says he's learned the game a little bit. So you can make money on horses. They are assets.
So we rescued him.
Okay.
So this is probably not a horse that's out there doing.
He's in good shape now. He's in fantastic shape compared to when we got him. But he's not going to be making us any money. He's starting to get older. He's a little arthritic.
Okay.
And
this definitely doesn't sound like you probably smart. It's more of a pet. This is a pet, not an asset.
That's our boy.
We love him. Horse.
We love him.
You have a quad and a pet horse.
I am working on getting rid of the quad. I'm working on getting rid of my truck.
I don't want to say it doesn't matter a whole lot what you've done up to this point, because that's not true. It certainly matters. But you were so early in the journey. What really matters is what you do next, right? You do have debt, so you got a little bit of like a hole to climb out of. I'd love to know, what's your plan? And as you think about, you got all these jobs, you got all this money coming in, you found our show, you're beginning to like educate yourself on how money works. I'd love to know, as we start into a new year, as you think about going into 2026, what's your plan moving forward?
So my biggest goal, like next step right now, is to completely eradicate my debt by, I think I said July.
Okay.
Before July.
That gives us about 7 months to wipe out some debt.
I'd like to get it gone before then. I feel like I make enough money. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do that. I realize that probably wasn't one of my smarter moments in life, but it's been fun. I had a good time. It costs money, but money is nothing but a tool. And I use that.
This guy's been listening. He's like, look, I heard Bo say it's a tool, so I'm going to get the horse, and I'm going to get the quad, and I'm going to get the motorcycle.
I have to do for myself, and I want you to talk to him about what his expenses and budget. But before, I have a little rabbit chasing I want to do that I'll bring you the results in a minute. But I have to ask Peter a few quick questions.
Absolutely.
What was the purchase price of the quad? Not what you think it's worth right now. What was the quad purchase price?
Out the door, it was just under
$9,000. And what age were you when you bought the quad? Was that 22 or 21?
I was
20.
20.
Okay.
What's your budget?
I was like 20.
Motorcycle. 21. How much did you pay for that motorcycle?
This is mean what your budget, because I can.
No, I know.
Okay.
You know, but I'm going to let you work while I do the rabbit hole. So, what did the motorcycle cost?
$500.
Now you say it's worth $1,500. These things appreciate.
I bought it. It didn't run. I fixed it.
Okay, so how much did you pay plus how much did you put into it?
I paid $500 for it, and then I only put in $250.
Okay, so you got $750. And how old were you when you bought that?
This was like 6-7 months ago.
Okay, so 22. Truck, how much did it cost?
$12,500 before interest.
Okay. And then how old were you when you bought that?
22? 21. 21.
Okay, what we didn't even ask you about it. What the heck is a car doing on there? You need multiple? You got your...
I got the car because with my new job, I travel. I travel quite far. At the job that I started at, so I travel with my personal vehicle to whatever job site they need me at.
Okay.
The first job site that they put me at was an hour and a half away in the morning without traffic.
So what did this car cost you first?
$1,700.
You say it's worth $6,000. So how much you put in it?
Because I fixed it.
Well, how much you put in it though?
About $1,000, $1,500.
Okay, so you got...
That's what Kelly Blue Book said.
So $3,000 in it total, you think?
Yeah, I'd say about that.
And how old were you when you did this?
This was about the same time as the bike. It's the motorcycle.
So 22. So this is just a few months ago.
Yeah.
So you actually have 4 jobs. Because you're actually out there. He's out there repairing vehicles so that they become shade tree mechanic. Okay. Y'all continue on with budgeting and all the other stuff. I'll come back to you to tell you some things.
So your biggest goal is to wipe out this debt. And,
yes.
And I love hearing that. And obviously I'm going to ask you this question, but it's going to be hard for you to really nail it down. But on an average month, how much money do you have coming in on average monthly that you could do something with?
So I actually looked at my statements and ran up an average of the last 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
And it came out to about $8,000.
All right. So
a little under.
So that's exciting, right? Because you were kind enough to share a budget with us, right? And when we look at your budget, it looks pretty reasonable. You say you've got $550 a month going to rent. You got car insurance. You've got the minimums you're paying on the debt. There's that horse again you're boarding. And then you got phones. So you got about I'm going to say $2,500 in fixed expenses, right? And so $8,000 gross coming in, $2,500 in fixed expenses. Check my math on this team. That's $5,500, right, that we have to work with. Where's that $5,500 going? Because I don't see truck insurance on here. I just see car insurance. Is that included in that? Motorcycle insurance?
I paid my insurance premium up front for 6 months.
Okay.
And it came up to about $2,500.
Okay.
A little more.
Sure.
So I kind of just broke that down.
No,
that's
about
great. $416 a month.
I mean, does that cover all the insurance for everything? Like truck,
yes,
motorcycle?
all 3.
Okay, great. Awesome.
A little more. The bike is on a separate plan.
Okay.
But it was only $250 for the year.
Okay. So you got $8,000 coming in. You got $2,500 going out. That gives us $5,500. Where's the $5,500 going?
So there is a bunch of other stuff that I couldn't. not fined, but there's a bunch of other stuff that's missing. Like with the horse, we also do every other month he gets massage because he's old and arthritic.
Did you hear
I'm over here knee deep in math, and I hear the horse gets a massage.
I don't mean to be laughing because it's a horse massage. How much are horse massages going for these days?
About $100.
$100 every 2 months.
Yes,
every 2 months. Okay.
Like I said, she's hard to say no to.
Okay, so $100 every. So that's 50. Okay, we count. So from $5,500, we're at $50. Keep going.
I do put significantly more than my debt minimums into my debts.
Okay.
So I am really focused on chipping that away.
How much is significantly more?
Probably an additional $500 a month.
We're at $550, so now we're at $4,950 left over.
Don't see it on there, but putting money away for saving and investing and stuff.
No, that's what's going to be left over. We want to. That's what we're trying to figure out. That ain't in here so far.
Because you've been making money for a while, and what you're telling me is, hey, I have this desire. My number one biggest goal is to wipe out debt in the next 7 months. If I go back to your net worth statement, I can see that right now your total debt load is about $15,000. What this tells me is if your fixed expenses are $2,500 and you have $5,500 extra coming in, if you actually got serious about it and you really put your mind to it, you could knock out this debt in the next 3 months.
Right.
What I'm trying to figure out is that realistic, or is there more money flying out than we're talking about
There's
here?
definitely more money flying out. I see it, and then I don't.
Peter, we got to get you. We got to get a because
that's why I'm here.
Behaviorally, we need to have a reset because
do you do any tracking? Do you use a Monarch?
So that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about. I used to be pretty good with money, but it was hard to be good with money that you didn't have. And now I have money, and I don't know where it went. I don't know where it went.
You don't have money. You have income coming in.
I have income,
but it's quickly turning into expenses. And I just want to give you. And the Monarch would be a great start, just so, because you need to gamify your life. I think you're very goal driven, or you like to hustle and make stuff happen. But I need you to kind of have perspective of what the potential is that you're dealing with here. So I'm not picking on everything, because we could put the horse, and the horse is probably a multi-million-dollar decision just upon itself. But we'll come back to that. And I'm not trying to hurt, because I love pets. I mean, my wife's dog. I think my wife loves the dog more than me, but potentially. So I mean, I'm not going to make you. We're not telling you to go take and do something, to make the horse go away. But it is something you need to have some perspective on. Because let's go through each of these. The quad. You were 20 years old. You spent $9,000. Your wealth multiplier was 88.3. That one decision alone against your future self is $795,000.
$750,000.
So. And look, I want you to make memories with your family, but this ought to be one of those things where I used to do shows called Financial Mistakes You Hope Your Friends Make.
Yeah.
You want to have you want to find out that a cousin or somebody can't use their quad because they're going to do something that weekend, and then they let Peter ride their quad. That would have been a much better use than you going and taking $795,000 from your future self. The motorcycle. Now, look. This one, I'm not going to pick on you too much because it was $750. It's worth supposedly more than that. But just if I'm staying with the drill here, you bought that when you're 22. The wealth multiplier on that is 66.5. That's $50,000.
I'm going to argue that should not even be on your net worth statement because that's a hobby.
Yeah,
right.
If you spent $500 on a hobby, you put $250 in the hobby, and now you get to ride the hobby around. That's not a vehicle. That's just a hobby thing.
I'm running an educational exercise here. And then truck. Now, look, trucks generate money if you're going out and getting jobs. So this one, but it's still to finish the drill. You bought that when you're 21. Your wealth multiplier was 76.56. So that decision is $957,000 from your future. The car, your wealth multiplier when you're 22 is 66.5. That car cost you $200,000 from your future self. If you add all those up, it's right at $2 million. So every time you make a consumption decision, now look, it can have a purpose, like a truck who's taking you to your job. Because that's why we have 23.8. Is sometimes you have to take on debt, you have to do things to get to your first wealth builder, which is your income provider. But that's not built into the quad. That's not built in. So you need to get serious because you're in the perfect stage where you just do something with this level of income and your drive and your hustle. It's going to turn into magical stuff. Instead of this stuff working against you of what you cost yourself, this could turn into what your wealth multiplier is actually built for your future. We just got to change your perspective so that you don't look back and go, man, I made great income when I was in my 20s, but it never manifested or turned into or caught traction and turned into actually wealth for me. Because there's a big difference between having good income, which I think in the world we consider that rich, versus becoming truly wealthy. And it's much better to actually have assets or to be rich than to look rich. And I think we got to get you working on that because your time is so valuable right now. And your work, you combine your time, because you're a billionaire of time, with your work ethic, man, oh man, I think you could go buy quads, you could buy boats, you could do anything you want, but you got to put the work in first. There's a time and a place.
So one of my biggest things that kind of but that was going through my head when I was younger and kind of made all these rash decisions was that, like, up until a few years ago, my biggest focus was just surviving and getting through day to day. And once I started making money, I'm torn between you only live once, I'm only going to be 22 years old once, while simultaneously planning for my future. But like I said, I just sort of kind of snapped into this mindset once I found your guys' show. And I feel like as a person, I've grown a lot and just matured a lot since I have started listening to your guys' show. I want to fix this because I know I could be in a much better position if I put myself in it.
Well, and I think that's the realization right there. Because there are a lot of people that are going to watch this and be like, holy cow, I make substantially less than Peter makes. And I'm doing a lot more with it. And I'm able to build a lot more with it. You have a ton of opportunity, but you got to get serious about it. You got to think, okay, and you don't have to think about what I want my future financially independent self to look like. You're close enough. You can say, what do I want my 30-year-old self to look like?
Exactly.
At 30, do I still want to be living paycheck to paycheck? Do I still want to be saying, oh man, like when I ask you, hey, where's this $5,500 going? You're like, oh, well, I see it and then I don't see it. That is not commanding your army of dollar bills. Right. That's not, you've done one of the hardest things in the world, which is creating a big shovel. The hard part's making the income. Now you got to finish the drill and figure out how do I actually turn that income into wealth. But I can already tell you, there's going to have to be some consumption changes.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be some discipline changes. Because while you have, when we think about the 3 ingredients of wealth creation, you have time in spades, right? Like you get so much of that. You have to increase how much discipline you have in your life. And I don't even mean around like not buying stuff. I'm like, hey, I'm actually going to get serious about understanding where my money's going. I'm going to download the Monarch Money app and I'm going to go sync up my credit cards. I'm going to sync up my check account. And every single month, I'm going to be meticulous about where is my money going? I'm going to go use YNAB. You need a budget. Like there are tons of free resources out there where in today's day and age, there is no excuse for us not to know where our dollars go.
Right.
And if you're going to meaningfully change the way your financial situation looks, you have to understand where these dollars are going so that you can appropriately redirect them into the places where they should be going. And it's not quads and horses.
Yes.
Right? It should be at your income, you need more than $1,000 emergency fund.
Yeah.
Like you said that.
Do you have health insurance, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm proud of you. Because you are dealing with some dangerous activities. I just want to make sure that you're not sitting out there uncovered on that.
I have a very, very good plan offered by my employer, as well as a pension.
I love that. And I think that's awesome. And that's going to be super exciting. And we hardly ever say this. But even I think that is a few steps down the road from where you are right now. I think before I can even start thinking about, okay, well, how's the pension work and what's going on there? You were at like the very base level of personal finance. You were at the very, very beginning. And the very, very beginning of personal finance is understanding what's coming in and what's going out. And if we start at the very beginning, $1,000 emergency fund, that's not it.
Right.
Right.
Like I said, I had that up to probably $7,000 realistically, but I put most of that into my debts.
You know what that means? It means you have $1,000 in your emergency.
Right.
I understand what you did with it, right? And I totally get that. But when I think about, man, okay, if I got this, I have $2,500 of fixed expenses. I have this other $5,000. My immediate first priority is like, okay, what happens if that unknown thing happens, and that's all I've got?
Okay, what's your deductible on your vehicles then?
I believe $1,500.
Okay. So there's $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's
probably the one.
At least that's potentially your step number one is your vehicle deductible.
So at the moment, I do have $2,000 in my emergency fund. But
Okay.
what I've been doing is I've been putting away $150 automatically out of every check into a high yield savings account.
Great.
And letting that build up to $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put that $1,000 into a loan, and then I keep that $1,000 and then build up to $2,000 again. And that's kind of where I was at. That's what I thought made sense, so that I still had a little bit of cushion, but still focusing on that high interest debt.
This company that you work for, you said there's a pension that you had before. They also have like a defined contribution plan, like a 401k.
Are you sure it's a
like
pension, or are you sure it's not a 401k?
It's just a it's not a 401. It's just a pension.
That's so unique.
So if we're thinking about the financial order of operations, and we just decided that, okay, $1,500 is your highest deductible, is what it seems like. There's no employer-sponsored retirement plan. Well, then we do get to step 3, high interest debt. And that is where I do think that you are likely doing the right thing, but $1,000 probably is not it. It probably is $1,500 or, whatever the deductible would be. But I think if I were in your situation, I would get militant about my spending. Yeah. Because when I look at these two loans that you have sitting out there, one at 11.2% and the other at 9.5%, those I think count as high interest. And this truck loan you said has been sitting around for the last 3 years.
Almost
plus.
3 years now.
So we're like outside of 23.8 at this point.
Well, and also I heard you say earlier that you have this whole FOMO feeling of you're only going to be 22 once. The cool thing with your income, there ain't much FOMO to leave on the table if you make the level of income you have with only $15,000 of debt. I mean, you can buckle up for 2 months and extinguish this and then move on to the next thing. And that's the biggest thing that we want for you is that we want you to kind of have a set it and forget it. So then you can go spend recklessly and not feel guilty about it because you will have already done what you need to for yourself. But you're kind of, if you don't do that, I think you're going to have the worst part of what I see on the other side of somebody who's got FOMO or feeling like they're only going to be 22 because you're doing hard work. And look, I know the machines do a lot of it, but you're still getting out there and getting with it. I mean, and that's when you get to be my age in your 50s, you're not going to, just not going to have, I hate to put it out there, but you're not going to have the same hustle.
Right.
So you got to have an army of dollars that you did something while you're at the hustle age that you're at, because you'll get to my age and be like, yeah, life's kicking my butt if I don't figure out another way to make this work. Now, hopefully, if you've done this right, you'll have crews, you'll have everything working for you, but I just don't want you to have regrets in the future.
So like I said before, I did have a significant amount of stuff break down within my company, which really hurt me financially, but I realized it's a part of it. I'm prepared to make those sacrifices. And then I also had some issues with my truck that I also had to fix. So the truck was about $1,000 that I had to fix.
Well, you're getting right into once again, brilliantly built into the financial order of operations. Once we get that $15,000 of debt paid off, now we get into the true emergency reserves.
Right.
And that's where we get 3 to 6 months. And that's
so that emergencies don't hurt.
Exactly. So you have the margin in your life to cover all the truck repairs, the horse vet massage bills, and all the other stuff. But but the problem is because and that's what I still think that there's consumption going on beyond even horse massages.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's why I'd be curious because, look, I've had friends like you. I think I've mentioned one of my best friends in the world. I graduated from an accounting degree, and I was making $28,000 a year. He was making already 6 figures selling tractors.
Right.
I mean, I was shocked because he was the greatest talker I'd ever met in my life, and that personality translated perfectly into selling tractor sales in his early 20s. And he was always he's the loudest personality in the room. He's buying drinks for everybody. So I think sometimes when you're young and you got it coming in, do you find yourself doing a lot for everybody because you feel like, hey, it's coming in, why not?
Sometimes, but I don't do it from the standpoint of not boasting.
Oh, he wasn't boasting. Yeah. I'm still good friends with him. I love him to death. He wasn't. He's just a good time.
That's not what I mean. I just not that I'm flaunting it to my people, but I do want to take care of everyone. And sometimes I probably do put myself out there more than I should.
But you have to put on your oxygen mask before you can put on somebody else's. And I would argue that right now you have the ability to put on your oxygen mask, but you're not there yet. You're not in the position where you can be able to do that for other folks because you haven't shored up your financial foundation just yet.
I want to get it under control.
Yep.
I realize the possibilities that I've already lost out on. I don't want to lose out anymore.
But again, at 2022, at 22, not 20, at 22, it's okay. All the stuff before doesn't matter a ton because you have so much time ahead.
Right. What do you guys recommend for splitting the 25% savings rate? I don't really have a set number that I put into investments or any mutual funds or anything like that. I just if I have it, I move it.
I think, honest opinion right now, I think you're completely out of whack.
Yeah. Okay.
Meaning, let the financial order of operations be your guide. You shouldn't split up your 25% at all yet on investments because you ought to be knocking out the debt. Okay. And I mean relentlessly and aggressively, every extra dollar you can put together should go towards that debt. And the sooner you do that, the sooner then you can increase the $150 that's going into the emergency fund. The sooner then you can get the emergency fund fully built up, and then you can get to the 25%. But you're thinking about step 7 really when you aren't even done with step 3. You might not be done with step 1.
Right.
So you got to do that first.
That's why we designed the financial order operations, what to do with your next dollar.
Right.
And we've got enough for you that the next 6 months ought to be you just going, what's next on the list?
That's right.
And we could get you there. And then I think this is going to get some muscle memory, and it's going to become automatic for the people for you once you set up these automatic investment account builders. And then you're going to be like, what was I thinking? Then you can go spend money on your girlfriend. You can spend money on the horses and the weekends with the family.
Not horses, just one horse.
Yeah,
one horse.
But you will completely be freed because you won't be faking it until you make it. Because right now you have this income, but your tomorrow is not promised.
Right.
That you're going, because that's the thing when people tell me I'm only going to be 22 once. I'm like, yeah, but you're probably only going to be 22 once making this type of money. If you don't have a fear about that, you know, because that's the part that I feel like needs a lot of love, just from a personal behavior standpoint.
Yeah. Like I said, I do plan on selling the truck and the quad. My hope for next year is that I do need a $2,500 for my company, but I'm not worrying about that just yet. I want to get rid of my debt. I want to get myself situated, because once I sell the quad and I sell the truck, I'll be able to get pretty much all of that debt gone.
Can I give you some tough love on this buying a $2,500 though? Is your biggest provider of income is this job though? Do they require $2,500?
No.
So it's you doing the side hustles and other things, and if
I would like to lean away from the landscaping portion and do more excavation on my own, and kind of focus more on that, because that's where the money is. It's not in doing $50 lawns. It's getting the drainage jobs and the trenching and all that.
But I don't want you to aspirationally go buy the biggest truck you potentially could ever need for something that doesn't turn into the money producer you think it is. It's more of a dream than a reality, because your biggest producer is that JOB right now.
Yes.
And that's the thing. So I worry, because we can do some false mental accounting where we think, hey, I can go buy this $2,500 and that's going to cost me. I mean, what does that even cost? $85,000, $100,000? What is it?
I'm definitely not doing brand new.
Okay, so what would, even in your mindset, what would this $2,500 cost?
If I were to do this, like I said, this is all just kind of thoughts getting thrown around. I'd probably be looking at about 20. On a realistic, fair number, I'd probably be looking at about 20.
See, I would challenge you if it's knowing it's that reasonable. This just needs to be after you're funding your Roth IRA and those type of things. You can set up and expand. When we have your emergency reserves and we say we want you to have 3 to 6 months, you could push that emergency reserves bigger to have an earmark and maybe a monthly budget for that you're going to start having a sinking fund for saving for this $2,500. And at that price, you could, I mean, that could be something that 6 months in the future, you would have it.
Because does your current truck work right now? Does it work for the construction job? Is it suitable for the construction job you're doing?
It's suitable for what I'm doing at the moment and the type of equipment I have and need to trailer, but the truck has issues.
Don't go squeeze or fake it if you don't necessarily, don't turn a want into a need artificially is really what I'm trying to get your mindset at.
Absolutely. And then there's also been the other idea, because since, this job has been so good to me, I have been throwing the idea around of liquidating and just kind of absolving my business and
putting everything into the current day job.
Yes. Because if I could get, Saturday or Sunday work at my full-time job, that would be an insane difference in pay.
You're going to make a lot more working Saturdays with your day job than you are
with
doing
the
your side
overtime.
gig.
It would be unreal.
See, and this is something, I'm going to sound like an old man on the front porch here a little bit, because I'm an entrepreneur. I've got multiple businesses. Bo and I have built multiple businesses now. And I feel like there's so much hustle culture out there that they tell people, go out there and start your business ASAP. But the problem is, and I'm all for it. I mean, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't. But if you don't, the biggest problem I see with businesses, small businesses, they are underfunded. Mm-hmm. They don't have enough cash reserves. They don't have enough money in the bank to give them an actual viable option to be successful. They're more passion, they're more dream than they are reality. I feel like as a 22-year-old, you're trying to make this stuff happen, but all you're probably doing is working against your day job to some degree, and you're not giving the dream of the entrepreneurship even an opportunity to take root because it's so poorly funded.
Right.
That it's all aspirational. It probably is cool at the bar with your friends when you get to say, hey, I got another gig, I got this and that. So, but it's not actually getting traction. Whereas if you actually threw your heart into the job, making as much money as possible, but still enjoying life. Don't mishear me. I'm not trying to turn you into this miserable person that only works. But if that money caught traction, built up in the background, then if you ever said, you know what, I think I want to be my own boss, but maybe you're 27, 28, 29, somewhere in there, you still can be a young person doing this. But if you have enough money behind you, now this dream actually is not aspirational anymore. It actually might pop because you can go buy a full, the 2,500. You can buy the reliable, trailer. You can put the equipment on it. You can do everything. But right now, this is more of a dream or a mirage than it is of a reality of life.
And on top of that, I 100% take my music. I 100% prioritize my music over my landscaping excavation company.
Well, that's the other thing. You're cannibalizing this other thing, this passion, this hobby that potentially could. I never take living in this town. I don't steal anybody's dreams. If you got the energy, you're 22 years old. Go out there and let's see if we hit a lick with something pops with the music career. That's one more reason not to do this fake entrepreneurship that's taken away from a lot of stuff.
I do really enjoy not so much the fact that I'm my own boss. I mean, obviously, who doesn't want to be their own boss? But I do really enjoy making those connections and being able to help out and, provide good work. I take a lot of pride in the work that I do.
Just because it might be no to being a small business owner, operating your own thing right now, doesn't mean it's no forever.
Absolutely.
We have to think about what's the best use of my time, what's the best use of my resources, what's going to put me in the best place long term. Being your own boss today might not be that, but at 30, it might be. And so that's something, I'll be honest, I think we've got a lot of stuff to work with here. What I'm hearing is you're malleable. So as we put together a plan and, hey, I would consider this and maybe think about this and maybe move this over here, I think that we could put together a strategy that likely a year from now would have you in a completely different situation.
And that's why I'm here. You know, like I said, ever since I found your guys' show, like I feel like I'm a different person. Mm-hmm. But I realize I still got a long way to go. You know, even working 7 days a week, 70 hours a week, I feel like there's still more I could be doing. But I'd rather spend less time and be more efficient with it. So I have more time for myself. And, I don't want to work like this forever.
Yeah.
You won't be able to.
I've been working full time since I was 14.
Right.
So you
got time, you got a work ethic. I mean, you got all the right pieces. It's just making sure that it's turning into fruit and not getting busy doing nothing.
I know you've let us know what your biggest goals are. Hey, I want to wipe out the debt in 7 months. I want to feel in control of my financial situation. I'd like to be more efficient, more effective with the effort that I'm putting into my financial life. Have we heard you correctly on that?
Yes, and my time.
And your time. Awesome. All right, I'm excited to get to work. Brian, what an awesome conversation with Peter, sort of. I mean, it's awesome in the sense that there is a lot of opportunity, but in my opinion, I don't think he's quite there just yet.
Well, I'm going to be honest. This is one that I found myself driving home from that recording day, and I felt like I failed Peter.
Tell me more.
Let me tell you why I say this, is that because Peter is working, he's doing a lot of things right in the fact that he's got a big shovel. He's got a good income, but man, oh man, he's going down a dark path that if he's not careful, it reminded me of, years ago when I used to work with professional athletes. A lot of these football players, basketball players, and baseball players I worked with, they just assume that they're spending and building their life assuming they'll have this big shovel of income for years to come. And what I think Peter is not catching on to is that he's got a limited window that he can hustle and go at it like he is right now. And if he doesn't start turning that human capital and his youth and time that he has in abundance right now into actual working capital, meaning assets that show up on his net worth statement, it just is, he's going to end up being a person that's a cautionary, woeful tale of great income, great opportunity, all the resources and things that could come his way, but he never actually turned it into something. And maybe I'm being too hard on myself, but that's the way, when I was driving home, as I was like, I need to tell Peter, get on ASAP, start turning your good income into assets on your net worth statement, because owning stuff is what's going to get him through this.
I agree with you there. I think, but here's the thing. Peter's young and he's a hustler. What I worry about with Peter is he's putting all of his effort and attention in the wrong area and he's not focusing on the right things. Right. I agree with you. He needs to figure out how to turn his income into assets, but I think he's just getting distracted at the stuff that he doesn't need to be getting distracted with.
He's doing, I think he's falling prey to, he's doing what he thinks successful people are doing. Because think about, he's got the work truck. He's got, he's trying to run 3 different companies, it feels like. He's buying equipment and doing all these things. In a lot of ways, I think he's trying to pretend to be successful without really seeing that the engine of his success is probably that high-paying job that doesn't even require the trucks and all the other things. And I was also troubled. Peter doesn't know where his money's going.
Well, I feel like that was the biggest gaping hole. We've already said, Peter had a great income. He said he's making about $8,000 a month coming in, which is unbelievable.
Especially at his age, at 22.
Exactly, but we could only account for about $2,500. Yeah. That leaves a big gap, like $5,500 that is completely unaccounted for. And if you want to be able to command your army of dollar bills, you have to know where it's going and know what cracks your money's falling through. And I feel like Peter just didn't recognize that. And so when I think about the one thing he's got to figure out where his money is actually going on a month-over-month basis.
Well, that's why I think what I love is now we get to say just a reasonable portion of this unidentified amount of money, he doesn't know where it's going. If we just put some of that to work, I think amazing things will happen.
Yeah, I think the very first thing I would tell him to do is he's got to figure out, and it's so easy. Technology's made it super, super easy. Go get some sort of budget tracker, some sort of app, download that, and start tracking where your money's going. And then he would at least know where it's going. Because we said, okay, if Peter knows that he's got $2,500 of fixed expenses. Let's just go ahead and be very, very generous and say that he had another $2,500 of variable expenses going somewhere. Well, if that were the case, 25 in fixed, 25 variable, that still gives him $3,000 of margin on a monthly basis to be able to fund some of these other goals. Well, if he had that money, he knew he could put it in the places that it needs to go. There are some exciting things he'd be able to do with those.
So I think we're on the same page as that he's probably going to wrap up the construction business or at least put a pin in it, deposit right now, sell the truck.
I mean,
what are we doing with this? And then knock out all the additional debt that he has going on. And then don't just take for granted that he doesn't need an emergency fund.
That's right.
I mean, he probably should lean into the emergency fund a little bit more too.
If he were to do these things and he were to move in this timeline, we think that it would probably take him about 6 months to completely right his ship and get into a fantastic financial situation to where then he could start building for the future. Because we said, all right, what if Peter did this? He took the next 6 months, really got serious about it. And we just assumed, okay, based off of his gross pay, what if he saved 25%, like we said? What if he saved $2,000 a month for the future?
Right.
What's interesting is if Peter were to just do that, because he's so young, it does not take a lot. Even though $2,000 a month is a lot, it does not take a lot. Peter doesn't have to think about being like a millionaire or a 2 millionaire or a 5 millionaire. His picture actually gets unbelievable because if he can save at that clip starting at this age, he'll cross over into millionaire status by the time he hits 40. And then if he can save at that clip from now all the way until he gets out to actual retirement age, actual age 65, he could be looking at a portfolio of like $14 million of assets actually working for him.
Now, it's kind of hard to believe that he can become a decamillionaire, still afford all the horse massages that him and his significant other have decided is important for him. But the big thing, he's got to do something because he's got shovel, he's got time on his side. But if he doesn't actually start turning that into assets that are showing up on his annual net worth statement, this is all just made up stuff.
Again, I think he's got the right ingredients. He has the time, he has the hustle, he has the work ethic, he has those sorts of things. But what he has not figured out is how to put those ingredients together in a really good recipe and to be true to himself that, man, I don't want to say lazy. That's too aggressive of a word.
He's definitely not lazy.
But I need to be more intentional. Mm-hmm. He's just kind of out there floating. And I think with some intentionality, he can turn his financial life around and really set himself up well. So if I'm thinking about next step sort of homework items for him, number one, I think starting to budget is like the very first starting point. He can go out and use Monarch. He can use YNAB. He can download. He can do a spreadsheet. He can track receipts, whatever his thing is. If he can start budgeting and understanding where his money is going, that's going to be the first step in the right direction of doing what he needs to do.
Well, also paying off the debt. I mean, he's paying 11.2%. That's turning compounding interest completely upside down. So if he could get ahead of that, I think it's going to help him out tremendously too.
And then again, we've already acknowledged this over and over. He's such a hard worker, but I don't think he recognizes the value of his time. He's trying to make this like side construction business work, when in reality, it's really just kind of sucking resources away from him. I would think maybe shutter that business for now, focus on the day job, understand that if you're passionate about music, that's something you can pursue, but you can't have all these passions at once, especially when you have this opportunity in your day job to make really, really good money, be able to put that money to work and not have your hobbies pulling away from you.
Well, what I think is interesting is that hopefully Peter will hear this well. He's doing all this hustling and nothing's showing up really on the net worth statement like it should. But yet he wanted to make sure when he left, he was like, hey, can I play a song for you guys? So he's obviously very passionate about the music because I thought it was pretty. And Bo, here we are in Nashville and he plays Johnny Cash.
That's right.
And right out of the box with that. But this plan that we just put together with the homework is going to let him focus on keeping the day job, saving and investing, and probably because he's not running around doing all this wannabe entrepreneurship stuff, he can now do more of the music and see where that goes as well and pursue that passion. I think that's a win-win. So get to stacking, Peter.
I think one of the huge things that young people have is they have all this time at their disposal. And that's the most valuable resource, but so often that time just gets sucked away with distractions. Yeah. And I think that he is going to have to be very mindful to not let himself get distracted and just like you said, get really, really busy doing a whole lot of nothing.
So my hope for Peter is either he becomes a famous country musician But if that doesn't work out, hopefully we've given him enough groundwork in the background that if he can just be disciplined with his young age, he's going to have all of his financial needs met, and he's going to live the best life ever.
I love that he found us now. I love that he was able to come on Making a Millionaire right now. If you would like to be a guest on Making a Millionaire, you would like to tell your story, we would love for you to go to moneyguy.com/apply. Or if you want to check out any of our resources, any of our tools, you can go to moneyguy.com/resources.
This was a lot of fun. I'm hoping that Peter will listen to us. Guys, I'm your host, Brian, joined by Mr. Bo. Money Guy team, out.
Making a Millionaire is hosted by Brian Preston and Bo Hansen. Brian and Bo are partners at Abound Wealth Management. Abound Wealth Management is a registered investment advisory firm regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission in accordance and compliance with the securities laws and regulations. Abound Wealth Management does not render or offer to render personalized investment or tax advice through Making a Millionaire. The information provided is for informational purposes only, may not be suitable for all investors, and does not constitute financial, tax, investment, or legal advice. All investments involve a degree of risk, including the risk of loss. The guests featured on Making a Millionaire are not clients of Abound Wealth Management at the time of recording. Their participation should not be considered a testimonial or endorsement of Abound Wealth Management.